For this particular Regents meeting, we were all instructed that we could not drive our cars to the meeting. You had to drive your car to the Parnassus garage at UCSF, and then a shuttle bus would take you to Laurel Heights, so as to keep traffic and cars away from all of this. There was large television coverage, as you may remember, including, I think it was live on Channel 9, the whole thing. And it started at 8:30 or thereabout. Jesse Jackson was there.
Really?
I sat 4 seats from Jesse Jackson. He's bigger than I am. And
Can he come to this on his own, or was there an outreach on the part of?
Oh well, there was some organizing, obviously, and we will get to the point where the organizing took effect. But so he was there. He talked. Many politicians from here and there spoke. Willie Brown gave what I remember is a very reasoned address on it. So we went through hours of speeches, and then the introduction of the resolution, discussion of the resolution. We were at something like 7 o'clock in the evening and still going when Jackson made a signal, and a movement was made by a number of his colleagues to shut down the meeting. And so the meeting was shut down. But the university had prepared for that eventuality, and there was another room upstairs in the Laurel Heights building, completely outfitted for Regents meeting, looking very much like the room we were in, to which the whole thing moved. The difference being that the public was present as long as it was in the auditorium, and once it went to that special room, it was not to the public, and I guess that's something the university could do because of the meeting having been shut down by external forces. That then gave the right not to admit all the public to the rest of the meeting.
How do they literally shut it down? Do they just become disruptive? Do they?
Yeah, moved up and took over the Regents table.
Oh.
Stood all around it to prevent people from doing things.
Really? And no security guards or police?
Security guards came in and the room was evacuated. There were, however, 3 of us who didn't make it out, and so we stayed in during the shutdown and only got to the rest of the meeting later. The 3 of us who were caught in there were myself, Chuck Shank, the director of the Lawrence Berkeley National Lab, and Dorothy Bainton, who was the vice chancellor for academic affairs of the San Francisco campus. All 3 of us remember it well.
Was it a little scary?
It was a little scary.
I bet. Yeah.
So I got up late as a result of this to the room where the meeting was playing out. It was about 8:30 in the evening that the motions were passed and adopted. What happened here is that the University of California, in of and by itself, was put in the position of not being able to use any considerations of race, ethnicity, gender, et cetera, in admissions or employment. And that was the essential content of Regents Resolutions SP1 and SP2. There's one other piece of very essential content, which we will get to, and that's the last clause of Regents Resolution SP1, which is that there should be a massive effort to improve the abilities of all people to qualify for and gain admissions to the University of California. That is what led to the Outreach Task Force and to Outreach, which is a huge endeavor, and I'm in the middle of that too. How this came about was that a new regent, Ward Connolly, adopted this as his issue. The Bakke argument, which was made often at Regents meetings by Walter and by Jim Holst, who was Regents General Counsel, really didn't carry the day with Ward. It was his view of what was the right thing to do and what was the wrong thing to do ethically. And so Ward, supported by some other regents, kept asking for reports on the admissions policy of the University of California and how it was implemented operationally. And so these were the 3 or 4 reports that Walter Massey delivered to the Board of Regents during the 94-95 year, and where, as I mentioned earlier, I was part of the rehearsal committee for him. These reports then led to a lot of regental discussion and were generally reacted to by Connolly and some others as being inadequate explanations. However, at this very point in time, around May of 95, Governor Pete Wilson has thrown his hat in the presidential ring. Mm-hmm. And the governor is also the president of the Board of Regents, mm-hmm. So he has a role, he has a right to come to any Regents meeting he wants. And working, I think, very closely together, Connolly and Wilson devised what became Regents motions SP1 and SP2, which are the ones that say no preferences in admissions, no preferences in employment. Mm-hmm. And those motions arrived over a very short period of time. That is, we had had a May Regents meeting. I think there was no June Regents mm-hmm, meeting. Mm-hmm. There was a July Regents meeting. As of the May Regents meeting, it was not apparent that Connolly and Wilson would be putting these motions to the July Regents meeting, which is in fact what happened. Jack Peltison was very busily trying to iron this out and keep anything dire or drastic from happening. I was not privy to the very internal discussions as to, so I can't address what Peltison thought when with regard to what might happen. Mm-hmm. But certainly to the rest of us, it was only a couple of weeks before this meeting of July 20th that it became apparent that such a drastic set of motions was going to be set on the table.